Hey guys, my name is Brandon and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like what you see in here, you're more than welcome to hit the subscribe button so you stay notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, let's get straight on with today's video. Hey everyone and welcome back to isthatbrandon. So in today's video I'm going to be doing a review for the Apprentice Series 19 Episode 6 UK, the British version. So at the beginning of this episode we found out that the candidates were going to be going to London Heathrow Airport Terminal 2 and they were going to be flying to Turkey, with Dean saying hopefully they're not designing a plane, Malika saying hopefully they'll be in the water in their bikinis, Chizola thinking that it's going to be a corporate away day team building event, and Lord Sugar basically explained that for this project it would involve high standards with the most money earned. That team would then win the task. So it was the corporate away day, it was the team building, so Chizola was absolutely knock on the head with that one, and the teams basically stayed exactly the same. So for Team Ascendancy you had Amber Rose, Mia, Malika, Dean, Jordan, Kia and Max. And then for Team Parallel, you had Chizola, Emma, Anissa, Liam, Johnny and Frederick. So let's start with Team Ascendancy. So Kia decided to be the PM and Chizola on Team Parallel. So it was Kia against Chizola. So for Kia and Team Ascendancy, Mia basically said it didn't feel real to be wherever they were. Jordan said it's gone from being a lock screen on his laptop to now being a real place. Kia basically explained that he had a clear vision of what he wanted to achieve, saying that some of the events that they could do were carpet weaving, which was £350, and something like pottery, which is something you can kind of do in the UK, not really something they wanted to go for. That was what Malika said. Clay pottery you can kind of do anywhere, so they obviously went for the carpet weaving option. Kia also added that the carpet weaving is actually a little bit more team bonding and a bit more inclusive, and he decided that himself, Max and Dean were going to be on the experienced team, with Malika saying that she was happy to be sub-team leader in terms of the catering. Mia also jumped in saying that she would also be happy to be the sub-team leader because she's also got a catering background. And Kia decided to put Mia as the sub-team lead. Kia basically explained that he wanted Mia to be the sub-team lead and to have some sort of authentic meal, £40 per person, and obviously not to insult them in terms of the price that they're asking for. Kia, Max and Dean were testing out the balloon tour, because obviously for their height part of the tour they were going to be in the hot air balloons, and they basically explained in terms of their food that tahini was the most important Turkish meal, with Malika saying that there was too much cumin and Amber Rose basically saying that there was too much of an acquired taste. I think both Malika and Amber Rose weren't too impressed with the food, but the fact that they were kind of making judgments and, you know, saying things in front of the chefs, I guess it didn't really help with the negotiations, because it was almost like, well, you've insulted my food and now you want me to negotiate some sort of deal with you. Not really sure if that's going to happen. And then they also, both the girls basically explained that the next meal was quite meaty. They managed to go from £70 to £63. Mia potentially asked for between £30 and £40. They said no, and they agreed at £60. Mia explained that she was disappointed with the negotiations and obviously the rudeness from the other two girls about the food, and said that they should probably get wine and unlimited water for their guests. So Karaka were the corporate client, and Kia basically advised potentially 4,000 would be the flat fee for 10 people to be part of this experience. They fought back and said we can do £300 for 10 people, so obviously 3,000 as a total, and Keir said £355 per person is the lowest that he's willing to go. Tim explained that the client kept pushing him down on the price, and basically they ended up getting a better deal than the actual team got, so the company got a better deal. And Dean said that this task is all about fact-finding. Dean basically said that this task is not about fact-finding, it's about actually having fun. Mia explained she was quite good at carpet making. Jordan asked whether they could meet him at a deal of 200 for the event. They managed to knock 150 off, so it was 350 and he got them down to 200. And Mia also explained that she wanted to spend £60 per bottle of wine, so 2 of those, that's 120, and then just unlimited water for the evening. So in terms of the actual experience, Mia was basically in the kitchen with Malika, Jordan and Amber Rose. And obviously the three boys, Dean, Max and Kia, were all in the hot air balloon doing that experience in the air. Dean just thought, as a little bit of fun, he'd basically ask all of the guests to guess how many hot air balloons were in the air, and the winner would win a free drink. They were taking lots of group photos. Dean was pretty much on the camera for the entire task, which was quite good. I feel like I'd be quite good at that sort of thing, like, you know, being part of this team building exercise and an adventure and a day out and that sort of thing. You want to remember it, you want to have photos and videos and, you know, memories of the experience. So I feel like I'd be quite good at that part. And in total there was 150 hot air balloons in the air, and one of the girls got it right. Keir basically explained that his guests seemed to have a really good time. Dean was obviously taking loads of photos, and Malika basically explained to the boys that she actually hadn't finished laying the table, and she actually asked whether the guests could kind of just stop where they were instead of like coming in while she was, you know, sorting the table out. I think there was a bit of a discussion between her and Mia as well. She came downstairs and she was like, I don't know how to lay the table, can somebody come up with me to just make sure that I'm doing it right? And Mia was basically like, well, hold up, it doesn't need 2 people to set a table up for 10. All you need to do is put the serviette, the cutlery, and, you know, make sure the wine is ready to go and it's cold and that sort of thing. And Malika basically explained that she was going above and beyond in this task. Not only was she doing the table herself, she was Miss Dishwasher. Dean also questioned Malika on the fact why the wine was warm and had to get a couple of buckets of ice, basically saying that's not how it should have been. The wine should have been kept cool the entire time. And when they were bringing out the food to some of the guests, there was sauce dripping from some of the plates. There was oil and sauce that was able to be seen on the plates, and I think Max, Dean, Malika, I think a couple of them did spill the food on the guests, including the CEO, and Max said that they're going to bring out tissues and speak to the other half of their team to make sure this obviously doesn't happen in future. Tim also said it felt like for this company it was a once in a lifetime opportunity, but for all the wrong reasons. And although, you know, the food did end up on some of their laps, they did say that they enjoyed the salty versus the sweet taste. And when Mia came out, they said that she actually cooked the Turkish food a lot better than themselves, who obviously live and breathe the Turkish food. And Mia came out and said that there was leftover lamb if anybody wanted any more. For their team building exercise, they did carpet knitting. Keir also asked whether somebody wanted a group of photos, 150 for all of the photos that were taken on the event. And he said that he was confident, but he just felt like there were a lot of things that obviously went wrong. And then in terms of Chisola's team, so Johnny said he's worked in hospitality before, Chisola said that she's run corporate days before, Frederick also said he's run corporate days, and Emma said that she's also happy to support Chisola in this task. Chisola decided that she was going to go for an off-road Jeep safari, some sort of boat ride, and 3-course meals in order to keep the guests happy and fed. They wanted to try and keep their team building exercises as cheap as possible, so they had a dancing experience that was $500, and I presume they were obviously trying to bring that price down. Frederick said that he had experience doing team building exercises and he had an idea for what they could do for a team building event. Chisola said that they should probably go down the DIY route. It's 50% of the price, and that's kind of what they're aiming to get in terms of, you know, £500 for this dancing. They want to try and get 50% off at $250, and if not, then they'll just have to go for a different option. In terms of the catering team, it was Anissa, Emma and Johnny, and Anissa basically explained that obviously as chef in the kitchen, they just needed to obviously report to her if they had any issues. And I think Chisola said that she was happy to try and get 70% off of the food price first. Frederick and Johnny hadn't stepped in as of yet as project manager or sub-team leader, and Anissa ended up being the sub-team leader for that task. Anissa explained that both Emma and Johnny were going to lead, to Emma and Johnny that she was going to lead the food negotiations. Frederick, Chisola and Liam were on the road tour, and they had to kind of find loads of facts and information about the tour that they were going on. So there was a lot of facts about ingredients, how to make different tea. And Chisola said it's good, obviously, collating lots of information. They have many pages of information, but it's about retaining that information. And Liam also said that, you know, when they got to the top of the hill, that was a good spot to obviously get some nice photos. In terms of the food team, so obviously Anissa kind of was discussing with Fish Guy who was offering sea bass for £70 per person. She asked for 45 per person, saying that we will make you good, we will make you proud, and we will offer a good service. She asked for 40% off. She said she wanted to keep the costs low for drinks, so obviously she didn't really want to have any alcohol. Johnny suggested they should have 2 bottles of wine, and Anita said, well, actually, if they do order the 2 glasses of wine and someone has a glass, and they're not allowed any more, they'll actually have almost felt like it was a tease. So ordering 2 bottles of wine, being able to have 1 glass and then nothing, or just to have nothing completely. So when they went to their corporate client, which was Vodafone, Frederick offered £200 for the adventure, the 3-course meal totaling £250, team building £150 per person, so in total £450 per person for the entire experience. I think the only red flag and the only issue here is that he basically split the entire team building day into costs. So obviously, if there's any part of it that they don't like, they will take off that specific amount rather than just a percentage of the experience. So yeah, he should have just said this is the total, and in their head they know what the split is in terms of the exercises and the activity, but that the people there didn't need to know specifically how much each thing was. One of the people from Vodafone said that they're actually celebrating 40 years of Vodafone, and they need to make this experience as unique and as enjoyable and as exciting as possible. Chisola said that there is a professional fine dining chef as part of their team, and Frederick asked whether they could do 400 per person, as it's all about luxury. Anissa also tried to ask the dancing people whether they could do 250. Johnny said potentially 200, 300 at the lowest, and then they obviously had to refuse that because they weren't able to afford it. And Johnny said basically with the DIY work experience and the DIY team building that Frederick was going to run, they've actually saved £300 or €300 anyway. Chisola said that Frederick and Johnny were going to switch teams for the team building, so Frederick was going to be on team building, Johnny was going to be on experience, and food and drink is very important to them, with Anita saying that they actually have only got water and soft drinks. She said she's now going to worry about them wanting to have wine with their meal, and with Emma saying that this was actually never discussed in their initial meeting. It was just more of, we're just wanting to save costs. So yeah, Chisola basically didn't say we need wine, she just kind of said keep the costs low. Chisola, Johnny and Liam were on the fun activity, with Liam basically saying at the beginning, I want to set the record straight, can people put their photos in their pocket, because obviously this Vodafone and the company and the motives is about connecting people together. So again, bit of a red flag here from Liam. I think the fact that it's a unique experience, it's a team bonding experience, I feel like they could probably have their phone on aeroplane mode. It doesn't necessarily need to be in their pocket. They just probably shouldn't really be on like social media and stuff. It should just be take all the photos, take all the videos, and then look at them all once you're back home. Not don't use your phone at all because you want to remember those experiences. Imagine if they go back to the team and go, oh, how was your team bonding event? Oh, we were told we weren't allowed to use our phones. So yeah, I think that was the only red flag there with Liam. He should have just let them use their phones and just said, look, please just don't post anything on social media or anything. Take all the photos, enjoy all the content, and we'll just share it all when you get home. Chisola started chanting Bodrum because that was the name of the place where they were. Bodrum, Bodrum, Bodrum. That was the name of the hill that I think they were climbing. And Anissa was discussing with Emma and Frederick about obviously when she was doing the cooking with the two of them, they needed to make sure that the kitchen was clean and efficient. Frederick was on starter, Anissa was on main course, and Emma was on dessert. And during the trek up the hill, Liam decided to make herbal tea for some of the clients, and they didn't like it because they said it was too strong. Chisola said that obviously this is where kind of the olive plants and the olive oil was created, and Johnny basically asked whether someone liked green or black olives, saying that actually he liked all olives. So it was just kind of, the chat was just a bit dead really, but then obviously it was Johnny's turn to give off facts at the top of the hill. So he spoke about Snake Rock, what Snake Rock used to be called, and basically told everyone to keep their eyes on the floor, watch out for the snakes. And he gave them a few facts about the hill and Bodrick Rock, but not really too much information. And one of them actually said that they wanted to get down to the bottom of the hill because they were kind of running out of time, and they wanted to get to the end. And when they got onto the boat, obviously there was no welcome drink, and one of them said that they were really looking forward to a nice glass of wine. And yeah, basically Anissa had to discuss with one of the girls in charge, saying that we've got 2 glasses, one for water and one for juice, with Karen jumping in saying, are you not going to supply them with any wine? Chisola said, I'm going to order 2 bottles of wine and make an executive decision. And yeah, she basically decided to overrule her own decision of not having alcohol to then get alcohol. Liam said the customers wanted more wine, so they'd already finished their 2 bottles of wine by this point, but that people wanted more. And Chisola was also told by Jo, who was the lady in charge of this experience, that they were loving the boat atmosphere, but again, they would like more wine. She also explained to some of the other guests that the olives have stones in them, and explained that they were obviously offered this exceptional fine dining experience that it's been sold to them as. If it was to have been sold to them as a local meal, then yeah, that's absolutely fine. In terms of Chisola, obviously having that conversation with Jo about the fine dining experience, because obviously Anissa has that previous cooking experience, and that's how she was in the conversation. She was basically saying, we have a fine dining person on our team, i.e. Anissa, who's got that previous experience. Either Chisola has been miscommunicated with, where she's basically said, we could offer you a fine dining experience, hinting at the fact that they've got someone in their team with that speciality, or she's just saying it as a statement. It's like, this person's clearly quite good with food, but it's still going to be something that's local and something that's, you know, easy to do. So yeah, either miscommunication, or she has sold that fine dining experience according to them, and that's just not what they were sold. Johnny basically managed to sell the fine dining experience. Johnny basically explained that they didn't sell the fine dining experience, with Anissa saying that she's not really sure what else could have been done. Frederick explained that he was a public speaking coach and decided to do a bit of participation with some of the guests, and he said sometimes eye contact is really, really important, so as part of this training exercise he just wanted each of the guests to get into pairs, stare at each other and not talk, and just see what that was like. So he asked for feedback, with someone saying that it was quite interesting. Anissa was asking whether people were able to give any cash tips. Someone didn't have any cash, and Chisola said that hopefully they've done enough, and right at the end got a £20 or €20 tip. So when it came to the boardroom, we'll go back to Kia's team first. So he initially was offered 4,000. They then fought back and said 3,000. He managed to get them back up to 3,500, with Mia saying that was around £40 per head, and Jordan managed to get his deal of the experience down from £70 to £60. Dean had a little game of I Spy, counting the balloons in the sky, and Max explained that he was disappointed with the girls, or the other half of the team, who were supposed to be doing the food and the cuisining, because the table wasn't ready and the wine wasn't cold when the boys came back from the tour. Malika said she did end up getting the ice from downstairs, and Mia explained to Malika that she didn't need 2 people to help set a 10-person table, with Malika basically saying she just wanted to make sure she was doing it correctly. Mia also added that when the guests were obviously finished with their dinner and Mia came out to talk to them, they all applauded her and complimented her for the food. And then for the other team, Frederick said that he was a negotiator with the client and they agreed at a £4,000 deal. The only issue was that he broke it down in different elements individually. Anissa managed to get her food discount from £70 to £45, but no alcohol, with Emma saying that they only wanted to have water in order to keep the costs down, as what the project manager had agreed. Anissa said it was a profit-making task, so only having 2 bottles of wine would mean the guests would absolutely want more. And Chisola said that they were on a bad foot with the tour. Johnny added that they were sold a fine dining experience, and Frederick said that in terms of his eye contact, it's the best way to connect with people, with Karen adding that it was a little bit awkward. So kind of you had 3 little faults there. You had Anissa not ordering alcohol when Chisola had sold it as a fine dining experience. You had Johnny, who, you know, bored the customers enough that they wanted to come down from the hill and just start drinking wine. And then you also had Frederick, who had his team building exercise with people just staring at each other. That didn't really go down well either. So all 3 of them potentially at risk. But like I said, I think both Anissa and Frederick are quite strong. Johnny, not really that strong, and he didn't really exactly add to this task. He was just kind of there, just kind of present. In the end, so for Tim's team, which was Team Ascendancy, they spent €3,550 on the tour. They made 2,110 on photos, and ended up getting a €1,580 profit. The food wasn't smooth, but there were no refunds, so they ended up making 1,580. And then for the other team, so Team Parallel, Karen basically said that Chisola's team had spent €4,000 on the tour. They ended up getting 1,950 on tips, so for them it was a profit of 2,070. Unfortunately, there was a lot of negative feedback. The fact that there was no luxury service, and the fact that they even struggled to get the bottle of wine. So they ended up asking for a 40% refund, and they knew exactly how much refund that was going to be on because Frederick had broken it down for them. So in total they only made £470 profit. So still in the positive, but just not as near as the other team. So for Keir's team, him and his team were off to the Turkish Hammam Spa to have a spa treatment. So Chizola's team, well, for Keir's team, he said it's definitely hot. It's as hot in here as it is in the boardroom. And Mia explained it's the third task where she's been the sub PM or the team leader, and obviously has won the task. In terms of the losing team, Anissa said to Chizola that the tour kind of felt like a little bit like a school trip. Liam explained that Johnny has not actually ever held the briefcase, kind of putting himself forward. And Anissa said that she'd decided not to go for any alcohol because they obviously needed to keep their costs low, with Chizola saying that the task is probably down to Anissa. Emma said that Chizola selling that luxury fine dining experience, she's at fault for that because that's not what they were able to offer. They just had somebody in the team who knew how to cook and, you know, knew how to be in a kitchen. That's not necessarily what they were there to do, put on this fancy bougie dinner. It was just some 3 little courses just after a nice long day. The client actually asked for a 50% discount on the team building exercise, which was pretty much what Frederick had decided to do, with him saying that was my idea, but everyone here apart from Johnny has actually put themselves forward and actually stepped forward into sub PM, team leader, or actually doing something on the task. Johnny said he did put himself forward as project manager, but he wasn't confident enough to step up as the sub team leader as a chef because he doesn't really cook. Anissa wanted to keep the costs low as advised by the project manager, and Chizola felt that the fact that she kind of expected alcohol throughout the corporate task was kind of like a minimum requirement. It's not really common sense to not order alcohol. You've got a load of business people, they don't want to be sitting there drinking water and orange juice, do they? Lord Sugar also explained that they didn't enjoy the driving part of the tour, with Johnny saying that he was the one leading the rock part. Chizola added that it was a little bit too fact heavy. And then in terms of the luxury experience and the fine dining, it didn't sell luxury in terms of what they had produced. In the end, Chizola decided to bring Frederick back for his costs, the fact that he split all the costs up in the initial meeting, and for Johnny, whether his teacher/educational side made it more of like a military event or a more teachery kind of event rather than a fun working experience. Karen explained that she likes Chizola. She needed to try and find the balance between profit and good experience, and then if they would have done that, they would have won this task. Tim explained that all of the elements of the task, the biggest element was the refund. The biggest element of refund was the part that Frederick had sold. And Lord Sugar said, yeah, in terms of Johnny, he hasn't really seen much from him, with Karen saying he had the chance to be the sub-team leader, and again, he ducked from that responsibility. Lord Sugar said that in terms of Chizola, she was focused more on profit and not on the actual experience that they were offering their clients, with her saying that they wanted the clients to have a good time, and unfortunately there were parts of the tour that didn't go well. Johnny said he put himself forward for the second half of the tour, and Frederick basically explained that every negotiation that he's led, he's felt like someone like Johnny hasn't contributed at all and basically just sits on the fence. Johnny basically said that he felt like the clients were oversold the experience, and Chizola basically said to Lord Sugar that she has showed herself on every task, and if anyone deserves to be fired, it's Johnny. Lord Sugar said, Johnny, you kind of have a tendency to make excuses. Chizola was in charge, and it kind of all starts with her in terms of it being an utter failure, and Frederick basically gave away the task by splitting all the costs down. In the end, he basically decided that it was time for Johnny to go, so Johnny was fired, and as he left, he said, "You're all my heroes," so that was quite cute. But Lord Sugar said to both Chizola and Frederick that his eyes were firmly on the both of them. Johnny said he was absolutely gutted. It was a shame to see, you know, his heroes kind of saying goodbye to him, but he has had a fantastic experience on the journey. Emma explained that she thought Johnny would potentially be at risk alongside Frederick. Liam said that Frederick, obviously breaking down the costs, meant that he potentially could also be at risk. And Chizola and Frederick, when they both came back, said Lord Sugar hadn't seen enough of Johnny in the last 6 weeks, and that's why Lord Sugar had to let him go from the process. So again, it could have been Anissa, it could have been Frederick, and it could have been Johnny. I think all three of them kind of messed up in this task, Frederick splitting the cost, you don't do that when you're advertising a experience. You just advertise the experience as it is. You know in your head or as your little team what the costs are in terms of the split, but you don't advertise that, because if they don't like that one part, they know exactly what they're going to get in terms of their refund. Anita, again, corporate experience, no alcohol. You got to think these are business people, these are people that have money. So, you know, if you give them things that are a little bit more expensive, you may get more tips the other side. It's kind of, you spend a bit more, you might earn that extra bit back. So you're not really, yeah, if you're just giving people orange juice, milk and water, you might as well just not do the corporate day event. So she made a little whoopsie, Chisola overruled it, and then in the end, you know, although they lost the task, it was a bit better of a loss than it if they probably wouldn't have had any alcohol. And then obviously Johnny, yeah, like I said, for the last 6 weeks, I feel like he was just kind of floating. Like, he was there, he was present, he was trying to get his voice and, you know, opinions voiced. But again, similarly to like one of the other tasks, just because you don't have the title of sub-team leader, and just because you're not a chef, and just because you're not, you know, it's not really your industry or not really your task, you can still get involved, you can still put your opinions forward, and you can still kind of feedback in the moment, rather than just kind of sitting back and letting everybody else do it. So that was it for episode 6. So if you did enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Until my next review, thank you for watching, and until then, thank you very much. Goodbye.